My name is Steve Cole. I'm a assistant professor in the Arts, Entertainment, Media Management Department of Columbia College Chicago, and I specialize in the music business management concentration. My background is kind of interesting. I started out as a music major. I studied at Northwestern University, and my goal was to be a concertizing saxophonist, saxophone soloist in music for saxophone and string ensemble. And I'd become interested in it in high school and was very dedicated to it, and went to Northwestern to study with a particular professor, Frederick Hemke. And was doing concerto competitions and things like that, and got to play with the Chicago Symphony Orchestra as a soloist as the result of a competition that I had entered, and realized that I'd probably reached the height of my career as a classical saxophone soloist at that point in time. So I got a little bit skeptical about my career prospects in that arena. I was also studying jazz and blues and rock and roll and soul and funk music, because my father's a musician, and that was going on in the house as well. So I kind of shifted what I was doing to what I really found was my true calling, and that was more, popular and soul music and jazz. At a certain point in my college career, I was trying to figure out how I was going to make that all work, and there weren't a whole lot of people around who could really help me with that. And when I would say, I like to write music and perform it, and I might want to make a record, what do I do? And there wasn't a lot of advice. And being a young kid, I decided, well, maybe I should switch and get a degree in economics instead. So I did that, and I went on a very different track. I went to work for a consulting firm, and was working with healthcare corporations and consulting on various different management issues, and then did what all undergrad business majors need to do and go and get an MBA after a few years working in that field. So I went to the University of Chicago and got my ticket punched, and I got an MBA. And the funny thing that happened is that when I was in the program and kind of having to put together marketing plans and learning all about competitive strategy and analyzing different industries, I started to figure out how I might be able to have a recording career, which is what I really wanted to do all along. I really had no intention of going back and working in consulting or strategy or that kind of thing. So what I did was I started really working on my music and trying to find my voice and try and write music and produce music and try to get a record deal. And after several tries at it and some good advice from some people and some relationships that I built through being a sideman with artists that were touring and producing and writing for other artists, I was able to get signed to Atlantic Records in 1997 as a solo artist, and since then was released 5 major label albums over the past 10 years. So that's kind of how I got to music by way of business school. The unique thing about our program here is it's a management degree. They take classes that are specific to the music industry with regard to whatever concentration they choose to follow, whether it's talent management, music production, entrepreneurship. But what it also is a management degree. So they study economics, accounting, corporate strategy, competitive strategy, marketing. And what's important to us and what's important to me is that they understand that the music business is a business, and the opportunities that are going to be available for students nowadays, with kind of all of the opportunities that the new technology has opened up, are going to be those opportunities that come from ideas that are acted upon, that come from perceptions of changes in the marketplace, places where students can see how to create value where value wasn't able to be created before, or how to monetize something that wasn't able to be monetized before, and put those ideas into action. And they're going to have to draw from a very, very complex matrix of skills and be able to connect a lot of different dots in order to make that happen. So a well-rounded education with, sound management will always be necessary regardless of what happens in technology. Whatever changes happen, sound management skills and critical thinking are the things that are going to enable those people to see opportunity from chaos, rather than just try and protect what they had been doing all this time to try and build a wall around themselves so they are impervious to the changes, which end up being a losing game most of the time. So it's the business background coupled with the content that we give them in specifically to the music industry that I think is going to, and focus on entrepreneurship, that's going to be the winning combination. There's always kind of the record label route, or the straight on kind of directly into the industry. I mean, and that's where a lot of the students want to go. They want to work for management companies, or they want to go to work for companies like Live Nation, or to present live performance, or they want to go directly to labels, or marketing companies affiliated with labels or whatever. But the thing that I'm seeing is there's so much more partnership with music, with consumer products of all shapes and sizes. There are alliances that are forming between companies like management companies and gaming companies, and you're seeing music with various different types of products. Our students have an amazing background in both business and music. So it's not far-fetched at all for them to go to work for advertising agencies that specialize and be kind of the expert in kind of putting music and products together, to go to work for a PR company and work with them if they're working with artists and kind of trying to put those two brands together. Anywhere where there's an alliance between music and something else, our students will be expert in. And I think more and more those types of alliances and partnerships are happening. And I think that we are targeting more and more relationships with those types of companies, and not just strictly record labels, management companies, and concert promoters, and kind of very typical music industry. I think it's grown out so much. It's a multimedia industry, television, film, the whole thing, technology companies, all are going to have people with expertise in music, because music is becoming part of it all. So I think there are more opportunities because of all these changes than there were before. The thing that I ask students to really get them to start thinking about this prospect is, what does success look like for you? I try to get them to visualize what success means to them. Where are they? What are they doing? What is their day-to-day? Who are the people that they're working with day-to-day? What are the types of problems that they're solving every day? And we start to kind of zero in on specific types of work. Some of them are just like, I want to be working on who's going to be my next act. I want to be working on kind of the narrative that follows my record label. I want to be, and so that's an obvious track for them. So we try and figure out, how do you get to that? Others may be saying, what, I love marketing, I love communicating, I love, the whole kind of intersection of all these different kind of media things, and we start to figure out, what does that mean in terms of where are there opportunities there? And then I say, well, who's doing that? Who's doing it, and how can you get to know them, or find out if you can meet with them and learn more about what they're doing? Are there internship opportunities? Are there informational interviews that you can pursue? Are there people working in the industry that we as faculty, or your fellow students, or your network of people could help you get close to and help understand further and try and get those opportunities? And the other thing that we do is we tell them that an internship can be what you make of it. There are some students who go on with internships and they do what they're told. They make copies, they make some phone calls, they do some research, and when the internship is over, they move on and they say, wow, that was cool, but what did I turn that into? other students make sure that they do what is kind of required of them, but they also make sure that they figure out a way to add value, to make that company a little better because they were there, and find ways to get the people that they want to have interaction with to want to assume a mentoring role for them. And a lot of our students get positions in companies that weren't positions before they got there. They established themselves as invaluable because of their being proactive, their knowledge, their passion, and the fact that they were always wanting to learn, and they were always kind of taking things to the next level and adding real value to that company. And all of a sudden, it's just like, wait a minute, how did we function without you? We need to create a job for this person, and it happens over and over again. And the jobs that I see our students getting, more and more, those are the types of jobs that they get, the ones that are created just because they were there, they applied themselves, they took full advantage of it, and they didn't want them to leave. It's funny because I've seen people start companies very successfully having planned every single thing out absolutely by the letter. The whole business plan, have really analyzed their competition, they know what their core value system are, they know what their mission statement is. They've carved out what their kind of value proposition is, and they know how they're going to bring something to market, and they go ahead and do it. And it's very well planned, and either it works or it doesn't work, based on how they're able to execute. Then I've seen people become really successful because they knew in their heart they had a great idea, and rather than letting it sit around, they just started doing it. And they started getting people around them that believed in that idea too. And it's almost like they willed it to happen because they believed so deeply that it was the right thing to do. I think the one thing that I would that I talk to students about who want to start business ventures is, we teach them how to create a business plan, to have a logical progression of steps that are going to lead to what they want to accomplish, and the knowledge of the marketplace that gives them an indication of whether it can be a viable concern, whether someone else is doing it, whether they can do it better, whether they have particular competencies that are going to kind of maybe straddle strategies that are there, that they may be able to kind of find that niche. But if it's in the music industry, there are more and more companies, artists, labels popping up every day because the ability to do so is there. And I always really try to stress to them that they need to have a core set of values that are sticking to. They need to stand for something, because I use the analogy of the cable channels. 10 years ago, or more than 10 years ago, we had like 50 channels, and we watched about 10 of them. Now we have 200 channels, and we watch 15 of them, or 17 of them. Okay. The percentage of channels watched with all this choice goes down. People are looking for, even though in this abundance of ability to consume, a variety of things, people are still looking for their little bundle of goods that are going to make them their little safe zone. And it's going to be harder and harder for them to find what they want. If a company can establish itself as the absolute best at a particular thing, and stick to that and make that commitment, and be the place that people go to find that thing. More and more, because of the ubiquity of it all these days, people are going to be looking for those trusted guides, those advisors, that one place that they know that they can go for a variety of content that they know is going to be great. And if they can establish that, stand for it, and have a consistent narrative of that and stand behind it with what they're offering, truly creative product that has breadth and depth, and that makes a promise and like a contract with the consumer that says, listen, you come here to look for what you want, and we guarantee you that we're going to do the best at giving you the best at what you're looking for. And I think that's a strategy that works, especially in a game that's as crowded as this business is becoming. We have this whole new paradigm of, we used to what's the phrase? We used to filter then publish. And we had people making those decisions for us. And for so many years, you know, the A&R people at major labels were our quote-unquote trusted advisors. And for many years, they did a very, very good job at it. You know, they kind of fell down on their game a little bit, but now we have publish, then filter, which means we have all this content out there. We've got 1 million people going on out there. How do we find the good stuff? And if there is a company that can make it known, and that's the hard part, who can communicate effectively to a community of like-minded individuals and grow that community of like-minded individuals, that what they stand for is quality, innovation, creativity, and they're going to make a commitment to stick to that. People who are looking for particular content are looking and hoping for one place that they can go where they know they're going to get what they want, because the alternative is there's so much that I get confused, so I stop consuming. You know, so I think that's one of the things that I think is a good kind of hallmark of a successful entrepreneurial venture. What I realized when I got here, and especially because this is a management program, it's arts, entertainment, media management, that what the students really, really needed was to connect those dots and to kind of look at companies and look at things that happen in industry and in this industry, and pull out those things that are really kind of innovative. You know, when we look at a company like Compass Records, or when we look at a case like OK Go and the YouTube success, and why didn't that translate early on into huge numbers in sales? What was missing there? Or we look at a company like TuneCore that kind of changed the game with regard to, you know, aggregators, and, you know, looked at the marketplace and said, wait a minute, you know, all these other aggregators, they're like record companies, and they're tethered, and people don't want to be tethered. That's the whole philosophy of the independent space, is that we don't want you to have a piece of what we do. You know, it's like if I shipped you 30 CDs FedEx and you sold them, would you then give 30% of those sales to FedEx because they delivered you the CDs? No. You'd pay them a fee and you'd be done with them, you know. People, artist share, where Brian Camilio said, listen, the one thing you can't download or copy or pirate is the creative process. And anybody who's stood outside of a stage door, or anyone who's, you know, stayed up late to get the first ticket because it came along with a VIP kind of, you know, cocktail party with the artist, you know that they want something more, and all of a sudden now we can kind of bring the creative process to people. We can add so much more value to the artist than just this copy of the end result of all of it, you know. So looking at things like that and picking out where is the innovation, what are the lessons that we can learn from something, even companies that fail or that are marginal, picking out those things that are innovative and trying to apply them across different things, I think is really, really important. Because people are trying a lot of different things. There's no right way to do it right now. There's ideas that people are throwing against the wall and they're seeing what sticks. And I think from that volume of ideas, we can kind of take those different business models and say what worked, what didn't work, what was innovative. Oh, look, these two businesses came together. 10 years ago, would these two businesses have even cared what the other was doing? And now they're joined at the hip. This is new. We need to understand why this relationship works. What's trending up, what's trending down? How can we work together to make sure that, you know, this can, you know, we can maybe reverse trends by synergies between two companies, you know, in very different businesses. So it became clear to me that that was what I think students really needed to understand to try to make sense of out of some of this chaos, because, you know, in chaos there's opportunities if you look for it. So I kind of got in more involved in that. It was a surprise to me. I mean, I have a business and a strategy background, but what I'm teaching and what I'm, you know, kind of passionate in terms of what I'm working with students on is very different than what I thought it was going to be when I first started teaching here. It's not as sure a track up front as going, you know, if you got a CPA, there would be firms coming to school to recruit, and there would be kind of established salaries, and there would be market data, and you know, it's a bit more of a safe bet. And if you love accounting, you should absolutely do that. In our program, we train managers. We train managers who have a specialty in the arts, and the arts contribution to local and national economy is huge. There are a tremendous amount of opportunities in this field for people who have the passion, direction, and skills in order to take advantage of those. You don't have to be starving to be an artist is our little motto here. You know, there are great opportunities, and that can become extraordinarily lucrative. I don't think, you know, it happens right away. I don't. You know, the day you walk out of college, it's not like you're going to work for whatever, KPMG or whatever it is. But there are opportunities that are fulfilling, that are going to speak to the student's passion, and because they're following their passion, they will succeed in it. If it's what they truly live, eat, sleep, and breathe, they really have no choice. If they follow that, it will lead them to the right situation, and they will excel at it, and they'll be exceptional at it. So, the safe bet, is just that. It's the safe bet. Listen, when I left music to go and get an economics degree, I have an economics degree from Northwestern University and an MBA from the University of Chicago. And the jobs that I did while I was doing that, I learned a great deal from. But, the first word out of my mouth every morning when I woke up at 4:30 to catch a flight to go to a client was an expletive. Today, I tour around the world and play music, and I get to teach the most, dynamic group of students something and help them, realize their goals. And I, in turn, get from them more probably knowledge than they get from me. It's a little secret, but, so the first word out of my mouth every day is, what's next? And I think that the students who follow their passion in the arts, especially in arts management, get fulfilled the same way. And the one thing that I try to stress with students as well is, there's a sense of purpose. Even if what you really aspire to do is be the executive director of a ballet company, what you're doing is you're taking on the stewardship of the life's work of the participants in that company. And there are people whose lives will be changed by seeing a profound performance of that company. And if you take part in making that arts organization more visible to the community, you have more of a role in potentially changing somebody's life. That's a huge reason to get out of bed in the morning. People have been profoundly moved by music, and those people who work in the music industry who help artists realize their goals and dreams and move to the extent of their creativity and then further are going to change people's lives. And the people working with them, around them, and supporting them are going to be equal participants in that change that can happen for the positive. So, the arts, they tell us that there's life on this planet, and that humanity has a future. And to wake up every morning and believe that you're part of that is remarkable. And if it truly is your calling, you will find success. So I don't worry about the believers, the ones who are truly here to make a difference and who are single-minded about obtaining their goals. I don't think their parents should be too concerned either, because they're going to be great. The ones who are on the fence a little bit, who are who haven't, who think it's a cool field, but they don't quite know. I'm going to do everything I can to help them find what their passion is, but if they can't find it, it's going to be a little bit more difficult for them.
Thanks for talking to us, Steve.
Sure.